Greetings, friends and family. This is Charles Codding. I'm trying to build an introduction to some old movies that you'll be seeing on the latter part of this presentation. Now, in the late 20s, my dad, Charles Harold Codding Sr., had a 16mm movie camera. He took pictures of his family and their activities. Now, I ended up with the film, and a few years ago spliced together most of the old 50-foot reels. Then I went to OSU and had the Audio-Visual Center put it on a videotape. The old silent movie was recorded at 16 frames per second. OSU had to put it on video at 24 frames a second. That explains the fact that you'll see people and happenings going much faster in the movie than they actually did. I have put a narration on the video as I made copies, the object being to help you identify the people and the places. The movie length is about 20 minutes. I want to thank my wonderful neighbor, Ed Dorr, who has arranged for, set up equipment, and is doing the duplicating and putting this audio on the movie. I think it might help some of you who view this video if I explain the locations where the old movies were shot. The main locations were our home in 4 Acre, Grandfather Codding's home near Leavenworth, Kansas, and Grandfather Olson's home, the Jersey Ranch. Then, of course, our ranch, which is 7 miles south of 4 Acre. When Dad and Mother were married, Mother's father gave them a small ranch south of 4 Acre in Osage County. It was about 400 acres, which Dad enlarged to about 4,000 acres deeded land and 15,000 leased from the Indians. Now, Dad was a lawyer, so Mother had to teach him how to be a rancher and a farmer. The brand that they decided on was the wine glass that you can see here. All the cows and bulls and calves had that on their left hip. Dad and Mom built a nice house on the ranch. It was a 2-story, and it had steam heat. The sad thing was that it caught fire a few years after it was built, and it burned. Now that caused Mom and Dad to have to move to 4 Acre. While in 4 Acre, Dad purchased a brick home from Mr. Metcalf. He was one of the bankers, and later put together a few friends who purchased the bank. And Dad rented for a number of years. On the movie is an aerial shot of that home in 4 Acre. Now, it was taken from the 4 Acre water tower. Not very high in the air, but it was enough to give an aerial type view. Dad found a few partners in 4 Acre, and they purchased one of the banks. That lasted for quite a while. He ran it, and he loaned lots of money to the farmers and ranchers, and it all didn't come back. So Dad eventually had to consolidate with a bank in Scheidler. The house on the ranch that is pictured in the movie was an old 3-room schoolhouse Dad had purchased from the Denoya School District, which is an oil town near Scheidler. Just one of the banks in 4 Acre, and Dad rented for a number of years. An interesting fact was that they were robbed quite a few times, and oftentimes by a single man on horseback, and he got away. Now, the house on the ranch that is pictured in the movie, as I mentioned, was purchased from the Denoya School District. It was originally 20 by 60 feet. It later was extensively remodeled and became my brother Donald's home when he and Helen Jo were married. Viola and I lived nearby in a house that was originally built by Ben Johnson Sr. That was the father of the movie star, Ben Johnson. Dad purchased Ben's acreage that had the house on it, which was in one of our pastures, and moved the house to headquarters. Another location pictured in the video is a Jersey ranch. Now, Mother's father and mother, John and Anna Olson, came over from Sweden. Grandfather was very industrious. He worked on farms back east. And he would get together enough money to buy a little land. He would improve it and clear it, sell it, and move on west. They continued that for a number of years, and finally they settled near Cedarvale, Kansas, which is about 20 miles north of 4 Acre. They landed on a place that was named the Jersey Ranch. That was the reason for the name of it. 2 scenes on the video you'll see were shot on that ranch. One was of men seining fish in one of the creeks. The other is the Oscar and Ida Olson family. Now, Uncle Oscar was my mother's brother. Now let us take a short genealogy trip to help you understand the relationship of people in the video. First came grandfather and grandmother Olson, whose children were my mother Selma, her sister Tilly Hobbs, and brothers Tanny and Oscar Olson. Now, grandfather and grandmother Codding had 3 children, my dad, Harold, and 2 daughters, Lavona Inman and Lynn Murphy. As we go to the movie, I'd call attention to one scene I did not get to explain much in my narration, and that was a short shot of the former home in 4 Acre. It is an aerial shot from the 4 Acre water tower. Next are a couple close-ups of Dad, Mother, and a friend, Mrs. Erikston. They're all attending a 4 Acre church picnic. Dad and Mother were quite dedicated to the 4 Acre church. They led in rebuilding it, adding an addition, taught Sunday school, and were leaders in the church. Above all, they insisted that their sons were in church every Sunday. Now, Ed, why don't we go to the movie? That perhaps takes care of the introduction. Breaker property, but Mrs. Erikston, and there's my mother. Now at the brick house in 4 Acre, Don and I are coming down the steps. Dad's throwing the football to us. Water tower in the background. My brother Donald. He has a lot to say, but we didn't have sound in those days. This movie was made about 1928. There's Mother coming out of the back door of the brick house. Elmo Murphy with my brother and I. And here's Mom. Dad was quite a baseball player, so the town of 4 Acre had a town baseball team. He was a baseball player, a lawyer, and a banker. My brother Donald. Now we're having a church party of the young folks. I believe they called it Ring Around the Rosie. You'll notice that all the action is pretty fast. That was because the movie was made at 16 frames a second, and when the college put the movie on VCR, they had to do it at 24 frames. So it's all quite a lot faster as we see it than it actually happened. The little one is my brother Don. Now we're up at White Hill, the home of my grandfather Coddings. That's grandfather with the hat on. Donald and I and Mother. There is Aunt Vona and Grandma Codding. Merle Inman is in the black in front of Don and I. Lavona Inman worked in Kansas City. Here's Grandma Codding. Grandpa's getting that car shined up. Looks like they're going to leave. Practicing killing the bandits, I guess. brother Don, all dressed up. Now we're out at our ranch house with Grandpa and Grandma Codding. Mother gets in the picture with them. We're at the brick house in 4 Acre. Grandpa and Merle Inman. There's Don with his hat. Mother doesn't want his hat to be down over his eyes, and he doesn't want it pushed to the back of his head, and I believe Don's going to win. Merle Inman is standing by Don. There we are. Don and I, Merle, Grandma and Grandpa, and my mother. Dad, of course, is shooting the pictures with his old 16mm movie camera. At the house in 4 Acres in the background. Off they go. Don's catching fish. I don't know how big they are, but he was fishing in the ditch. This is in front of the bank building at 4 Acre. Dad had the bank for a number of years. Mrs. Glick, a helper of Mom's. Don, and now Don is in the corral down on the ranch roping calves. Having a little difficulty getting them to stand still while he ropes them. Now he's caught one. The calf is bigger than Don. He's tough, but they're a little overpowering. There's a race that he didn't win. That calf got away. Back in the brick house at 4 Acre, Lavona Inman, Merle Inman's mother, getting ready to go back to Kansas City. Now this is Hardly Able. It's an oil well that Dad got started in 4 Acre. Grandpa and Grandma Codding and Merle, and my mother comes to join them. That oil well was named Hardly Able because Dad said it was hardly able to pay expenses, so that's what he named it. Don and I are playing with an old packing box. Now, Merle's getting ready to leave. He's got his suitcase and all, and Don's telling him goodbye. Grandmother Codding. There we are with Merle, Don, and I. That's my dad on the right. I'm standing in front of Dad, Grandpa, and Grandma. There's Dad again with his hat in hand, and Grandpa and Grandma and Merle. Don and I were all dressed up. I don't know whether we were going to church or where we were going, but we didn't very often dress up like that. Now we're out at the ranch. It was snowy in the wintertime, and we have a big hill out there that is wonderful for sledding until you fall off. Harold Hobbs is helping us with the sleds out there, our cousin, mother's sister's boy. That's Harold pulling the sled. The hill was nice to slide down on the snow, but it was difficult to get up in muddy weather. We're going to hunt those rabbits. And I believe, sure enough, we got one. Yes, sir. I don't know whether it had been shot before we pulled it out or not, but Don's explaining it to us. There's an overall view of the ranch. Proud of that rabbit. I don't know whether that's another one or the same one. We used to eat those rabbits. This is another view of the ranch headquarters. Now we're back in 4 Acre. My mother had quite a garden. Seemed to me like it was a terribly big garden as we had to hoe it. Don and I and Mother raised lots of chickens. Here we are with Grandpa Codding. He's teaching Merle and Don how to use an air rifle. Merle's trying to find that trigger. I think he's more interested in looking at the camera. Now they're going to see if they hit the bullseye. I think they missed it a little bit. Now we're getting all ready to go to Kansas City. I believe Merle's mother, Lavona, has the fur on. Grandma Codding in the center, and my mother on the right. They too are all dressed up for travel. Aunt Bona, a great lady. We always enjoyed Aunt Bona. We're back at target practice again. Our other aunt was Aunt Lynn. Aunt Lynn married a Murphy who worked for Mid-Continent in Tulsa. Kenneth and his sister were, he had a brother also as a Murphy. We're going to fix that air rifle. My mother and I. I'm dressed up for some occasion. Picture's a little dark, but his dad, Aunt Bona, and Grandma. Grandfather, grandmother, dad, and I. Now Mother joined the group. Boxing practice. Don and I are having quite a time with those boxing gloves. By George, I believe he's winning. He's got me down. Didn't know you could box laying down, but Don does a pretty good job of it. Riding horses at the ranch. Cowboys are bringing cattle in to work them at the pens, brand, dehorn, castrate, and vaccinate, and so on. We raise Herefords, commercial Herefords, quite a bunch of them. I believe we had some friends out from town. Now these pictures are taken a little later when I came back from college with Viola, her sister, Laura Ruth, jumping on that horse. I can tell that was certainly an earlier day. At 84, I have a hard time getting on a horse now. This is at the ranch. Donald. Donald and I. Don't know our ages there, but you can kind of guess. I was college age. Back in at 4 Acre with my mother. Yes. Down at Pawhuska. Now Harold and Leona are on the bicycle. Donald and I are in front. Here he comes on high gear, it looks like. Throwing the shot put. That's Harold Hobbs. Don and I are trying it too, but we didn't do so hot. There we are at 4 Acre with the water tower in the background, and now we have Grandmother Olson and Aunt Tilly and Leona and Mother. Grandmother Olson came over from Sweden, she and her husband. Mother, Leona, Grandmother, and Aunt Tilly. Grandmother wasn't very enthused over having pictures taken. We couldn't get her to smile. She was a grand old lady. I think Mother is showing them her yard and flowers that she's planted. I can remember there's Grandmother in her bonnet. Chickens. Mom raised lots of chickens. She had setting hens in the crawl space under the house. I remember about 3 foot high, but I had to go back in there and feed those and water those setting hens. She had 8 or 10 of them at a time. Mom's telling Grandma to look at the camera. Harold's taking a picture, but she's not very interested. I can remember watching her in a rocking chair when they lived at the Jersey Ranch, and she smoked a pipe, and she'd rock back and forth and smoke that pipe. Now then, we have Oscar Olson and his wife in the center, Oscar and Ida. We have their daughter Pearl on the right, and my mother and I. Uncle Oscar's getting those boots fixed right with the pants inside. Oscar Olson, he was Mother's brother. Now, we have Harold Hobbs. There's the Olson family. Oscar, Ida, and their daughter Pearl. We jump back to 4 Acre again. With Grandma and Mother. Donald entered the picture. Feeding those chickens. Aunt Tilly and Grandma putting up hay at the ranch. That's what we call a go devil, buck rake. Cowboy crew at the ranch. Charles Hobbs was our foreman. He has a few helpers. Charles is the second from the left. Donald is in the picture also on his horse. He was a real horse lover. Leona and Harold with the horse. Now we have Dean Murphy on the left with the suspenders. Dean Murphy, Harold Hobbs, and Charles Hobbs. Tanny Olson's family. Tanny lived near Cedarville for a number of years on the Jersey Ranch. He had a great family. And while they were up there at the Jersey Ranch, we'll see him seining fish in a little while. These are some Olsons from Alta Vista, Kansas. Charlie Olson's family. Mother's brother, Charlie. I'm sorry I don't remember all the names of them, but they had a great family. Mother and I and Don and the Olson girls. There's another one of those vintage automobiles, big headlights and big wheels. Now we're seining fish at the Jersey Ranch, having a picnic, and they had to catch the fish to have the picnic. Doing a little cowboy work. Castrating branding, dehorning, vaccinating. Don is supervising from his horse there. We had the McVeigh brothers as our main helpers there on the ranch. Moving cattle again. Oh, we ran about 400 cows at that time. They were all commercial Herefords. Later we got up to 1,000 and gradually turned them over to as a registered herd. The cow crew again. We're back at the ranch, snow on the ground. Don going out among the cattle. Charles Hobbs is the gentleman there driving them into the working pens. I believe we have run out of movie.
Let's see. Just walk.